Please, may I have your attention? Please just get settled. Just find a place and sit. We're about to start. It's almost some few minutes gone past 3 o'clock. We'd like to welcome you once again to the 43rd valedictory lecture series of the University of Port Harcourt. May I respectfully invite us to rise as the media will give us a special instrumental music that will usher into this auditorium. The 43rd valedictory lecturer of the University of Port Harcourt. We shall officially begin as we take the national anthem. That will be closely followed by the university anthem. Please, as we sing, no movement. Thank you. Let's sing along. The university anthem. Please be seated. It is my honor and singular privilege to respectfully welcome everyone to the 43rd valedictory lecture series of the University of Port Harcourt. Today is going to be delivered by the 7th Vice Chancellor of the University of Port Harcourt, Professor Ndowa E.S. Lale, from the Faculty of Agriculture. Let me briefly establish the protocol so that we can continue on that protocol. Very respectfully, seated here today, who is also the chairman of this wonderful program, is the Vice Chancellor of the University of Port Harcourt, Professor Omunari Abraham Georgewell. You're welcome, sir. Seated very closely to the Vice Chancellor is the Deputy Vice Chancellor, Administration, Professor Chukwudi Onyaso. You're welcome, sir. I have the honor to introduce to us the Deputy Vice Chancellor, Research and Development of the University, Professor Angela Frank Briggs. Welcome, ma'am. Let me also welcome and introduce to us the University Librarian, Professor Helen Marcialo. Okay, sorry about that. There was a mix-up. I deeply and sincerely apologize. I have the honor to introduce to us and to welcome the Registrar of the University of Port Harcourt, Dr. Gloria Chinda. You're welcome, ma'am. You're welcome. I was in very fast lane and I missed my way, sorry. Let me go back and introduce the University Librarian, Professor Helen Marcialo. Thank you. That's the order. That's the protocol. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And also seated in our midst today, I have the honor to introduce to us the Acting Dean of the Faculty of Agriculture. She's none other than Professor A.B. Amakrumo. And then there is someone so special who is dressed beautifully in a different attire, academic gown, the only man standing on the high table here. He is the man of the day, the 7th Vice Chancellor of the Unique University of Port Harcourt, the 8th Vice Chancellor of the Unique University of Port Harcourt, Professor Ndowa E.S. Lale. You're welcome, sir. You're welcome. Thank you very much. Thank you for preempting. Thank you very much. We deeply appreciate. And also, let me quickly establish this protocol that we also have the 7th Vice Chancellor in our midst today. Professor Joseph Ajenka is seated here. Thank you very much. And we also have an array of former Deputy Vice Chancellors in no particular order. Professor Anikpo is here, Professor Nduka is seated here, and Professor Willie Benny Abe is also seated here, and the beautiful husband is also seated here. And we also have other principal officers of the University of Port Harcourt here. We have Dr. Mrs. Dorcas Otto, former registrar of the university. You're welcome, ma. And we also have a council member seated here in our midst today, Honorable Kadilo Kabari. You are welcome, sir. We want to recognize the provost of the College of Health Sciences seated here. You're welcome, sir. Professor KK. We have deans of faculties. We welcome you. We also have directors of centers And institute, you are most welcome. Heads of department, you are most welcome. The staff and students of the unique university, you're welcome. May I please hide under the protection of the Vice Chancellor, sir? May I kindly stop here, sir? And before I drop the microphone, may I respectfully inform us that the Vice Chancellor of our sister institution is also here in our midst. I am talking about one of us here who is on loan to another university. I'm talking about the Vice Chancellor of Ignatius Sajuro University, Professor Oke Onochukwu. Welcome, sir. You're welcome, sir. And let me not forget the former DVC R&D, Professor Lale. You're welcome, sir. Thank you very much. Other protocol, please duly observe. Even though they said we shouldn't be saying something like that. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. May I respectfully hand over the microphone to the registrar of the university for the rest of the program. Thank you.
Let me welcome you all to the 43rd valedictory lecture in the series to be delivered by our own 8th Vice Chancellor, Professor Ndowa E.S. Lale. I have the honor now to invite the Vice Chancellor, Professor Unare Abraham George, to make his opening remarks. Vice Chancellor, sir.
Deputy Vice Chancellor Administration, Deputy Vice Chancellor of Research and Development, the Registrar of the University, the University Librarian, the Acting Dean, Faculty of Agriculture, our 43rd valedictorian, former Vice Chancellor, Professor Joseph Ajenka, Vice Chancellor, Ignatius Sajuro University, Professor Oke Onochukwu, Emeriti professors who are here present, provosts and deans of faculties, distinguished professors, staff of the University of Harcourt, students of this great university, the revered family of our valedictorian, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry, I cannot forget the council member who is present here, Honorable Kadilo Kabari. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is a distinct honor for me as the serving Vice Chancellor to host the valedictory sections of my very respected predecessors. Last year, at the 34th valedictory, held on 9th of January 2025, we celebrated the legacies of the second Vice Chancellor, Professor Joseph Ajenka, who meritoriously bowed out of the active service in this university. Today, 29 January 2026, about 1 year later, we are gathered again for yet another historic moment. The 43rd valedictory lecture of the University of Port Harcourt, to be graciously delivered by a man of courage, with unwavering commitment and impact, a teacher to teachers, the pioneer dean of the Faculty of Agriculture, and a grand patron, Professor Ndowa E.S. Lale, the 8th Vice Chancellor of this great and noble institution. Our valedictorian today is a big masquerade, a colossus, a pathfinder who has blazed the trail. He's one of those rare figures whose career allows him to speak with authority about how universities work, how they feel, and how they might yet be redeemed. Professor Lale is a builder, and if I may borrow from our cultural lexicon, a big masquerade whose presence has shaped spaces and institutions. Ladies and gentlemen, what you're about to hear today is not a speculative theory. It is knowledge forged in committee rooms, Senate chambers, governing council meetings, classrooms, laboratories, and moments of institutional stability and challenges. It is insight shaped by 43.5 years of service to the Nigerian university system. 32.5 of them devoted to this unique university. Therefore, the lecture title, University of Port Harcourt, then, now, and in the future, promises interrogation. It asks us to reflect on where we are coming from, to examine honestly where we are now, and most importantly, to confront where we are going. Distinguished audience, this is not a lecture designed to flatter us. It is a lecture designed to unsettle us. It calls us to listen with humility, to reflect with honesty, and to respond with courage. As current Vice Chancellor, I see this lecture not as a farewell speech, but a charge to the institution. I therefore urge all of us to listen, whether you're an academics, administrator, or a student, or as custodian of ideas. It is my honor and privilege, therefore, to formally welcome all distinguished personalities here present and those watching online to the 43rd valedictory lecture. As I invite you all to fully engage with what promises to be bold, reflective, and consequential lecture. Thank you, thank you, and thank you.
I hereby invite the acting dean, Faculty of Agriculture, Professor Ebi Amakoroma, to deliver the citation of our 8th Vice Chancellor, Professor Ndowa E.S. Lale, the Dean.
The Vice Chancellor, please permit me to stand on existing protocol. I'm delighted to read the citation of our valedictory lecturer today. A brief citation on Professor Ndowa Ekwate Sunday Lale, a life of scholarship and service. This brief citation on Professor Ndowa Ekwate Sunday Lale, a distinguished Nigerian academic, entomologist, and university administrator, whose career exemplifies scholarly rigor, pioneering spirit, and resolute leadership, is a fair summary of Professor Lale's contributions in the spheres of agricultural research, academic governance, and institutional development, particularly at the University of Port Harcourt, where he served with distinction as the pioneer dean of the Faculty of Agriculture, and later as the 8th substantive vice chancellor. His pursuit of higher education began at the University of Maiduguri, where he studied crop science and graduated in 1981 with a first-class honors degree in agriculture. This exceptional performance immediately set him on a path of specialized research. He proceeded to the United Kingdom, where he earned his Doctor of Philosophy degree in agricultural entomology from the prestigious University of Newcastle upon Tyne in 1987. His specialization lies in the critical area of agricultural and stored product entomology. Professor Lale's research career spans several decades, has focused on addressing the devastating impact of pests on stored agricultural products, a vital field for food security in the tropics. His work has appeared in numerous high-impact national and international peer-reviewed journals, positioning him as a world-class scholar in his field. His academic commitment was crystallized in his inaugural lecture, the 68th in the Uniport series, delivered on February 25th, 2010, titled Stealthy Thieves in Homes and Food Stores. In this seminal lecture, he provided authoritative insights into the biological mechanisms and economic losses caused by arthropod pests, establishing a framework for effective post-harvest management strategies in Nigeria and the wider African continent. Beyond his scholarly outputs, he also served the broader academic community as the editor-in-chief of the Nigerian Journal of Entomology from 2010 to 2012. Before his rise to the highest administrative office, Professor Lale demonstrated his immense capacity for institution building. He's recognized as the pioneer dean of the Faculty of Agriculture at the University of Port Harcourt, a role he undertook from 2005 to 2011. Taking on the faculty literally with bare hands, Professor Lale was mandated to establish the necessary infrastructure, curriculum, and staffing. Through his strategic vision and administrative diligence, he successfully laid a solid academic and administrative footing for the nascent faculty, call its programs, a profound and lasting legacy that affirmed the quality and rigor of the institution he created. In July 2015, Professor Lale was appointed the 8th substantive Vice Chancellor of the University of Port Harcourt for a 5-year tenure. His leadership was marked by a commitment to restoring academic culture, promoting discipline, and executing high-impact development projects under his vision, which he encapsulated in his inaugural address. A wholesome and prosperous University of Port Harcourt is possible. Professor Lale's influence extends beyond Uniport. He has held significant positions contributing to national development and academic governance, including serving as a member of the Governing Council and chairman of the Disciplinary Committee at the Rivers State University of Science and Technology. He has also served on the TED Fund Screening and Monitoring Committee under the National Research Fund Intervention, contributing his expertise to the strategic funding and promotion of scientific research in Nigeria. Professor Ndowa Ekwate Sunday Lale, through his distinguished career as a scholar, pioneer, and consummate administrator, has left an indelible mark on Nigerian higher education. His intellectual legacy is secured in his scholarly contributions, while his administrative impact resonates in the physical and ethical structures he painstakingly built at the University of Port Harcourt and beyond. Presenting to you, Professor Ndowa Ekwate Sunday Lale.
Thank you very much for that very enthusiastic introduction. Let me Let me quickly thank the Vice Chancellor for his graciousness, for the very kind words he used to introduce me. So I thank the management of the university, and what an audience to speak to. I'm humbled, and I welcome you all to this 43rd valedictory lecture entitled The University of Port Harcourt, Then, Now, and in the Future. Well, this lecture serves as a final deposit of my thoughts on the state and future of the University of Port Harcourt. It's only reasonable that I haven't served as Vice Chancellor should do that. It aims to provide insights on the university's path toward becoming a world-class institution. 43.5 years of service in the Nigerian university system provide the foundation for the thoughts that I'm going to share today. Evidence was gathered through roles as Pioneer Dean, Vice Chancellor, Member of Council of 2 universities, Member of Senate of 4 universities, and member of several committees, both statutory and ad hoc. My goal is to share knowledge on how the laws and policies of statutory organs or the university should be applied for smooth administration. You know, sadly, that my friend is not here now, but a friend of mine and a colleague, another entomologist, his name is Professor Thomas Enimosan Fuya. He shared, well, he said it was a joke, but it's a stop with me. He said, once you turn 60, you are nearer where you're going than where you're coming from. And having attained 70, I'm more nearer where I'm going than where I'm coming from. And therefore, I don't have any reservation about speaking the truth. The title was chosen to reflect a commitment to truth that can only be suppressed or distorted for a limited time, but cannot be destroyed. Truth. For certain men, it's true that not everyone may embrace the truth immediately. Its value increases with time. This lecture addresses the capacity of the past and present leadership styles to influence the future trajectory of the institution. Well, in doing this, I've spared you an enormous time telling you things that you and I already know. For example, the role of tertiary education in national development, access and gender demographics, proliferation and capacity of universities, teaching versus the research nexus, union activities and the influence on welfare and quality of education. The only reason I want to say a few things here is about Students' Union. You know, Students' Union constitute some organ within the university that the administration is supposed to guide and teach them certain values. For example, there you have executives of the union. They're supposed to teach them the values of democracy, for instance, freedom of speech, the rule of law, free and fair elections, and things like that. And knowing, and for them to know that leadership is not about impunity. And this is critical because I'm sure that my big boss, Anipo, who is one of the finest sociologists in Africa, will know that this is where the training happens. And he also knows, for example, that many of the people who are playing the big game at the national level were students union themselves. I also suspect that Professor Anipo might have been a student union leader himself when he was in school. So it is here that we need to, cut their political truth correctly. So when I was Vice Chancellor, at a time when other universities, their unions were collecting dues from students 200 naira, 500 naira. University of Port Harcourt was collecting 2,000 naira. I don't know what they collect now. And I thought that was huge. And when you look at the population of students we have, that was huge money. And all they do is do Students' Week. And the money just vanishes. I said, no, we cannot continue this way. And I called them, negotiated with them, and said, look, let us do something that can leave a legacy in the university. It is for this reason that it is their money we use to build this 1.2-kilometer walkway from the data park end to Donald Econ Library. Although it is sad that that critical facility today is in a puzzling and sorry state of disrepair, but it's a critical facility that we need to deal with. Now, universities are tools for development, and I want to have a quote from what late Kofi Annan, former Secretary General of the United Nations, said on the role of higher education, particularly in Africa. And that is quite important. And I'm going to say that, and I'm going to quote that, I quote. He said, I believe that the university must become a primary tool for Africa's development in the new century. We're already in that century. Universities can help develop African expertise. They can enhance the analysis of African problems, strengthen domestic institutions, serve as a model environment for the practice of good governance, conflict resolution, and respect for human rights, and enable African academics to play an active part in the global community of scholars. Higher education is the most viral vehicle for transmitting ideas, skills, and culture across generations. Impact is felt in medical science, agriculture, engineering, a whole lot, and political economy, just a few. The evolution of University of Port Harcourt. University of Port Harcourt was established in 1975 along with 6 other universities. For example, Kano, Maiduguri, Calabar, Jos, and a few others. But it gained full university status in 1977. 2 of his founding fathers, Professor Donald Ekong and Professor Silvano J.S. Kuki, whose pictures appear there, the first and second VCs, respectively, aimed to make Uniport one of the finest institutions in Africa. The headhunt strategy used employed the most competent staff worldwide. Established academics were attracted from other institutions to build the foundation. Top-tier graduates were placed on staff development programs to acquire global training around the world, to acquire global training from and most of the staff were trained abroad, just in many places. Yeah. What I have chosen to call the golden era of Uniport faculty. Most staff trained abroad returned to provide a high standard of education. And just permit me, because when we came in, we're working we're looking up to people like Professor Anigbo. He wasn't a prof at the time, and Professor Michael Oti. He wasn't professor at the time, but they were our bosses, and they lived such good lives. They were so competent, and we wanted to be like them. There were those who were here earlier in the university. The university, because of the quality of the faculty they had and an enviable reputation through its world-class academic faculty. At that time, attaining the rank of senior lecturer was a significant feat with international visibility. Professors were held in high esteem. Can somebody give me my water, please? No, there's another water there that I've started drinking. Yeah. Your peers. Say what?
Yeah.
Say what? That one? Am I not loud enough? I always pride myself that even with that, so I don't know. Okay, sorry about that for those who are at the back. I'll try. Right. So as I said, professors were held in high esteem. And the academic opinions at that time were sacrosanct. Strict promotion guidelines were provided a great sense of professional accomplishment. Non-academic staff or the deputy registrar status were repositories of institutional policy. Anybody you met at that time. Of course, you knew we had Akbe first as registrar, then we had Okubole Monodi, and the kinds of person they worked with. You could tap them on the street and they would tell you what each policy said. It was that good at that time. These values were handed down to succeeding generations to ensure quality assurance remained high. The professorial interview and promotion examination for non-academic staff were adopted as a final lap for promotion to the top ranks to maintain the sanctity of the process for efficient service delivery. This process was more also was doing what some other universities were doing, not all of them. In other words, they took your papers when they provide you with a prima facie case. They took your papers out. Once 3 or 2 people out of the 3 or all 3 said positive, you were promoted until something happened. Again, some of my senior colleagues have called their names, know exactly why they changed the system to include an interview. And I said the process was the envy of many other universities in Nigeria. Now, I want to say something. Now, let me at this point say one thing. I solemnly swear about every statement I'm going to make here, every statistic I'm going to quote here, every year I'm going to quote here, are verifiable. In fact, for those who have the lecture, all the sources are referenced. You can check them out. So at that time, inaugural lectures served as public announcement, they still do, of entry into the professoriate academy. At that time too, inaugural lecturers were never taught how to write or how to present their lectures. These days, inaugural lectures are sometimes used as crowdfunding projects rather than academic discourse. Abandoning professorial interviews and promotion exams may be impacting staff quality negatively. Unipop fell from its place between 2015 to 2017 when it held the first place to 20th in the 2025 Times Higher Education, one of the most authentic ranking bodies globally. The university recently failed to make the list of top 10 most sought after institutions. Nigerian universities currently use, now I want to introduce something, and I think it's a concern, and that is why I'm discussing the matter. Nigerian universities currently use uniform promotion and motivation systems for anybody called a professor. Staff with different productivity levels are often promoted to the same rank. Paying identical salaries for varied competence levels demotivates high-performing academics. A few competent professors often end up doing most of the work. And for anybody who has heard, it doesn't have to be vice chancellor. It may be dean of faculty, it may be a timetable officer, it may be exam officer. When you want things done, you realize that we have a problem. Only few people are the people who will do the work. And that is why I'm sure even the current administration will say that. When you now want to start committees, it's the same people you circulate on the committees because they are the ones who can deliver. The system fails to reward individual excellence effectively within public universities. It is not peculiar, this thing I'm discussing is not peculiar to the University of Port Harcourt. It's a problem in the entire Nigerian university system. So, I'm then looking at, is it possible to tidy up this aspect by applying the Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule. And the Pareto principle suggests that 80% of results come from 20% of effort. This rule can identify priorities and optimize performance within teams. I'm sure you have seen Pareto, who indeed developed this in 1948 and 1923. What that means for an organization is a small proportion of employees often contribute significantly to organization's success and organization's success. Now the question is it really justifiable that everybody, simply because you're at a certain level, justice dictates that top performance at the same rate as others? Our system ought to be rejigged using this principle by borrowing from the practice in countries like the USA and Germany. Professors in the USA and Germany do not earn uniform salaries. Sorry about the fact that I keep calling. For some reason, I'm not as good as Professor Michael Otti. He speaks very fluent, error-free German. I was there for some time. I can't say a word in German. And he knows that in Germany, for example, professors are rated on a scale of C1 to C4 to reflect their status. C1 is the lowest professor and C4 is the highest. They're not paid the same salary by any means. So at least the professor there will feel good that their colleagues who are not as good earn something low. That's the way to promote excellence and to promote and to motivate staff. Of course, no single university can deal with this matter. To arrest during the 2022 strike of ASU, they had gone to the Honorable and then Chris Ngege told the journalist, so what do you mean by that? I can teach these professors. The Nigerian professor didn't like that, but the guy knew what he was talking about because he had interacted with the professors that came to negotiate with him. And then not too long after that, one university, one Oriental university in this country promoted somebody who has never. Of course, ASU and other people fought him, but then the guy stuck to his guns. So one day I was watching channels, and there was one super editor of a journal, of a newspaper. And they asked him, that was the final question they asked him. He said, what's your take on this? This guy is hanging to this professor that is so controversial. And the guy said that he just wonders why the guy is still hanging on to that title. He said, what does it really mean to be a professor in Nigeria now? Yeah, when professors watch that, they feel bad, particularly our older colleagues, they feel very bad because professors meant a lot. If a professor gave you, even if you're now, but the baddest, as the Americans would say it, comment on that was by an eclectic Vanguard columnist. His name is Ugoji Ebujo, and I'm going to quote what he said. He talked about so many other things, the quality of things from household goods, how standards have declined in Nigeria. He didn't finish with those. Then he came to the universities. He said, degrees we meet country are fake. Column September 20th, column of Vanguard. He said more than half of the university degrees were mint in this. 90% of it was finding the frontiers of knowledge. And then he said, but that should not be, that should be expected. Now listen to this. Many of the professors are fake. The country is full of terrible professors who have never written a proper peer-reviewed paper of any scholarly value in their entire academic lives. It's evident when they are hired for INEC duties. They regularly show a shocking lack of mental and moral fiber. Of course, you can, those of us who are professors can get angry about it, but the reality is there. I'm sure those of us who watch people who call themselves professors read results during INEC can testify to this. Sad. So, the IUC needs to develop a radical instrument for recognizing and rewarding staff. Leaders of integrity in university management. Leaders should appoint competent and skilled staff without pandering to sentiments. Now, this is very critical. When we have some opportunity, whether it is being HOD, whether it is being timetable officer, we need to put people in put competent people in charge. Staff with job dispositions are only transactional and mercantile, and so do not contribute in any significant way to the growth of the university system. Efficient institutions are built through competent and ethical leadership, not strong individuals. Of course, as Hillary Clinton once said when he came to Nigeria, he said, what Nigeria needs is strong institutions, not strong individuals. Only staff with visible ethical values can contribute to sustainable growth. Managers should be dispassionate and make appointments based on proven competence and integrity, not political or other sentiments. That's the bottom line. Now, what UNIPO needs to do to succeed in this century, what UNIPO needs to do to succeed in this century, any organization to succeed, whether it be a university, an industry, whatever it is, must be governed by the book. The good news about the university system is the fact that you are provided all things. You are also provided with organs that within the framework of laws. As over the people they're supposed to lead. Reason is very simple. Because they know that the big boys and girls in Abuja have their back. And that is not good for the university system. And we are aligned with apologies to my younger brother, Honorable Kadilo. because he's a member of council and is a politician. That way, we give politicians a strong hold on the system. And from wherever they are, they dictate what should happen. And that is not good. And we cannot be in one breath, be talking about university autonomy. And in another breath, we want politicians to appoint its managers. It doesn't work that way. It just doesn't work that way. The other thing is that also, again, I apologize to my younger brother, Kadilo. Universities could do without politicians on councils as external members. I'm not saying they should sack you now. I'm merely saying that, given the experience we have had over decades, when politicians arrive in the university, it's strange for them. They may have been on boards of other MDAs. The universities are so very different. So when they come, they need a whole lot of learning. And again, because the government in power has appointed them as a reward for the role they played for betting that government and for the role they will continue to play, they may have told them, we have appointed you, come here and now, you know, one of the most unfortunate things that happened for external members of council was General for reasons best known to him, some policies that in a university system, a vice chancellor is the chairman of tender board. That's a very serious thing that pro-chancellors and the standard have been fighting ever since, but it hasn't changed. So you can imagine somebody like me. Even today, when I tell them I'm trying to retire, somebody told me in the bank, that means that, sir, that means that you're 60. So I laughed. I say, in the next few days, I'll be 70. The lady got up from her seat and called other people to come and see me. So you can imagine when an older person who is chairman of council came to the University of Port Harcourt and saw me. First of all, he didn't check my birthday. He thought I was a baby. And to chair the tendered board was a difficult thing for him to accept. But that's what it is. So, you know, there are other places where politicians can be put. And as a matter of fact, there have been crises in universities as a result of this conflict. It may not be happening in Uniport now, but it has happened before. At the time we had crisis in Uniport, it was happening in Uniport, it was happening with my friend in the University of Lagos, it was happening with another friend of mine at the Ahmadu Bello University for the same reason. Crisis. I just hope, but this is not something that universities can do. This is something that the policymakers, Ministry of Education, through its agency of NUC, can interface with government to deal with. I also think that they ought to dismantle the multiple supervisory agencies for universities. You know, even the city is such trust the vice not the students. See, there's nowhere anybody you can get quality by just coming here, stay here to work. It's anywhere in the world. So students must pay fees, charges. I mean, one chancellor, I called me, how do you pay? My sister Mato will be here. How do you pay some medicine to citizens? How? Just what is it? See, they did feel this creative means. Of science and tech as it used to be, or River State University of Education. The ones in those places will pay fees by the same family. The one attending Uniport will not pay fees. They said that's how they have been doing it. I said, no, it just cannot work. And at the time I took over the leadership of the place, things had changed dramatically in the country. So that we needed to, and mind you, as they won't pay the fees, as go to bursary, bribe them, get their certificate, and move on. When the thing happened, some parents were shocked. They said they have been giving these school fees to their daughters and sons for all this period. So you can imagine some use it to support their girlfriends, some use it to do. Unfortunately for me, some staff within the university, for very different personal political agendas, incited the students against me and my administration. Of course, you know, that's history. There is nothing they didn't do, including attempting up to 3 times to kill us, me and my family. And they had, meanwhile, just so that you remember, the school charges were 45,000 naira per year, not per semester, per year. All kinds of stories were told. They were writing in local tabloids. Some people were being sponsored to radio houses. How Professor Lale increased school fees. How this, I did not. And then they were caused to embark on a very violent protest, such that this university has never known since its creation. But I'm happy today, the university has actually increased, the administration actually increased those charges dramatically. And those charges and fees are being collected seamlessly without a whimper from any corner, many quarters. And I want to say, you know, when I lie on my bed, I thank God. I said, sir, I thank God. I said, God, I thank you, because this is the legacy I left. I paid dearly to leave that legacy so that the school can function, because I believe that fees should be collected. And I believe in that. And I'm happy that they're doing so right now. You know, I want to say that in the presence of this very august audience, that this present administration and the succeeding ones must remember that Professor Lale laid down his life that these fees will be collected. Now, I want to talk about, I want to talk about discipline. I'm not going to spend all the time here. Discipline, there is no organization, including the families, that can function without discipline. There is none that can function without discipline. Of course, this was one place where so many things happened. No leader enjoys sanctioning staff or students, no leader. But it has to be done in protection of the values of the organization, in protection of those individuals who have imbibed what I call organizational citizenship, to be loyal to the system so that they're not discouraged. It has to be done. Somebody once said that if you don't like smoke, don't go to the kitchen. Leadership is serious business. Leadership is not popularity contest. Leadership is serious business. And I want to cite a few quotes. For example, Abubakar, looking at the leadership of Nigeria, he said a few things. He said, leadership is not popularity or beauty contest. It is about justice, trust, and resource. As political wisdom reminds us, people do not care whether the cat is black or white. As long as it does what? It catches mice. Then at the Silver Jubilee of the Arewa Consultative Forum, which was held in November 2025, Jibrin Ibrahim was the guest lecturer, and we were talking about leadership. Say the reality, however, is leadership is hard work. It requires loads of self-discipline and sacrifice to achieve set objectives. The leader gets insults. Oh, talk about insults and attacks. And their egos get bruised often. No, actually, that I'm still alive is God's grace. No, that I'm still alive. You know what we call the the April 11 Arab Spring in Uniport. That was the day they did the strike. They attempted 3 times to kill. They were shooting live bullets. I'm not exaggerating. To access the VC's lodge, to kill. And they declared us persona non grata. That anywhere they saw any of us, they'd be shot at. It was that bad. It's as simple as the fact that we said students should pay fees. Now, there are some quotes that I have, and I still, I look at them any day I get to my office. I look at them. Steve Jobs was one of the finest leaders in our world. Steve Jobs is late now. Steve Jobs, a big entrepreneur in the world. And he said, I was teaching his people, he said, if you want to make everybody happy, don't be a leader. Go and sell ice cream. Because no leader who wants to, and the reality is that when a music maestro, the reggae superstar that ever lived, he was better known as Bob Marley. He said in his song, Rat Race. Rat Race is on the album called Rastaman Vibration. And he said, when the cat is away, the mice will play political violence in the city. That's how it happens. And I say, when the cat's away, the mice will play Political violence in our city. Yeah. So as I try to conclude, I'm saying that Unipos must return to the high standards set by its founding fathers. Quality assurance in promotion and academic integrity must be prioritized. A merit-based reward system based on Pareto principle is necessary for motivation. Funding must be regular and systematic to avoid recurring industrial actions. The university's future depends on the truth and its application in management, although I'm aware that propositions based on truth are risks. In Amos chapter 5, verse 10, it says, honest judges are hated, and those who speak the truth are despised. But I've taken in the world. Let me, as royal fathers, eminent academics and politicians, vice chancellors and pro-chancellors, serving and retired, and other managers of institutions, captains of industry, the clergy, and astute bureaucrats, CEOs of companies, leaders of the private sector, journalists, men and women in diverse vocations and careers, colleagues, friends, the university community, and our adorable students. It is therefore impossible to address each of you by name. I have friends who have come from different places. Just to recognize, Professor Yola Asenwater had to cut his travel short in Manchester to be here, and I see you. I truly appreciate your support, sacrifice, and love. Nonetheless, I appreciate my very senior colleagues. They've been, in fact, when Professor Nikpo, as he then was, Dr. Nikpo was chairman of ASU, I served on his committee and got so close to him. And until fairly recently, if I needed to drink up wine, as they call it, the wine from oil palm, I go to his house. So I recognize you, sir, for taking time to be here. Professor Michael Loti, I recognize you, sir. I want to pay special tributes to two alumni, Chief Barrister Yesonwo Ezonwike, CONGSSRO, POS Africa, Life Venture, DS, Honoris Causa, and Dr. Stanley Lawson, amongst others, for the role they played in infrastructural development and digitization of our degree results to ease transmission of transcript, respectively. I just want to leave it there for that. Honorable Excellency, His Excellency Wike, I had gone to him and I said, you are an illustrious alumnus of this university. It's shameful that we still do convocation and matriculation in that place. I want you to build us a befitting convocation arena. And he didn't hesitate. He said, go and design the place, come back with the design, and once you do that, I'll build it. He did. And even though I left office because there were a few challenges, when the construction began, he called me to come and flag off his construction by laying the foundation of the place. And I'm grateful to him. Now, Stanley Lawson graduated in the first set of students in 1981. And with all the trouble we have with transcripts and all that, the university approached him and he agreed to pay for all the digitization, and he began. I think the project was almost completed when I left office. I thank the current managers, Professors Emeritus Samuel Mwabufo Okiwelu and Nimi Dimpa Briggs, both of blessed memory, played a pivotal role that made it possible for me to deliver my valedictory lecture in this particular institution. Professor Okiwelu, I called my boss, played an active role on the interview panel that gave me the job and got me on my first missionary journey in Uniport between 1982 and 1992. He also facilitated my return. to Uniport for the second missionary journey between 2003 and 2026. Professor Briggs, the fifth Vice Chancellor of the institution, approved my re-engagement for the second leg of my mission at Uniport. I remain eternally grateful to the two celebrated professors. Professor Silvanus J.S. Kuki, the very personable and highly revered nonagenarian, worked hard and coordinated the group of elders made up of some former vice chancellors, one former deputy vice chancellor, and one professor emeritus in their effort to right the wrong done in the poorly thought out and hurriedly executed suspension of the 8th vice chancellor. His post-service lifestyle in maintaining a respectable distance truly exemplifies how former vice chancellors ought to relate with the university they once served. As I retire today, I will continue to look up to you, sir, as an excellent example of a quondam VC to emulate. I've dropped my heart for you, sir. Professor Don M. Baredam, the 6th Vice Chancellor, appointed me Pioneer Dean of Agriculture, a position that improved my visibility in the university. He remains a trusted friend and indeed a trusted elder brother. The Council of the 7th Vice Chancellor, Professor Joseph Ajenka, made it possible for me to move to a campus accommodation at a time I was vacillating to do so for personal reasons. His counsel healed a lot of wounds, just as he had opined. I'm truly grateful to these former VCs. I thank the current managers of the university for permitting me to deliver this lecture that has formally announced my spent at the University of Maiduguri. You know, I gave my inaugural lecture 16 years ago. At that time, when I now wrote, I had the train of professors. I felt very good. I felt very confident that if anything happened to me, I had people who will rally around me and deliver me. So I walked to the platform with great confidence. When I got there today, not one person was there. Maybe out of pity, the director of academic affairs, just follow him. And so this particular lecture is a long, lonely walk to freedom. My wife and children are here. Some of my children are here, not all of them. So my wife, children, and more recently my granddaughter have been strong pillars of support and all a source of inspiration that contributed significantly to the modest achievements I made in the 43.5 years of my journey in the academia. They also provided the broad shoulders on which I took the needed solace and received renewed strength whenever the vicissitudes of life unleashed their downturn. I appreciate and love you all. Now, as I end this, I want to tell you a story that our father told us when we were growing up. In our growing up years, my dad always told us, his children, that if God keeps you alive long enough, say, we will see many things, hear many things, taste many things, smell many things, feel many things, and know many things as a result. By his amazing grace, God has not only kept me alive long enough, he has also kept me alert enough. And so I have seen many things, heard many things, tasted many things, smelled many things, felt many things. And as a consequence, I have known many things. To him alone be power, majesty, adoration, and praise forever and ever. Amen. I thank you all for listening, and God bless you.
We give this opportunity to valedictory lecturer to officially the 9th Vice Chancellor. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much, Registrar Ma.
Sit down before you come. I hereby invite the Vice Chancellor, Professor Unare Abraham George, to make his closing remarks. The Vice Chancellor.
Let me still be on the protocols, but also to recognize the second Vice Chancellor who walked in while the program was going on. Sir, you are welcome. Sir, you are welcome. You know, our valedictorian speaks truth to power. Therefore, we must also speak truth to power. Valedictorian, sir, professional interview. When I came in 2021, only Unilag and Uniport were doing professional interview. ASU adduced several reasons. One, those interviews were used to victimize people. Two, people cannot be assessed by 5 or 6 professors. And one professor will come on an interview day and fail the person. And therefore, the thing went to council, and council agreed. As of today, only Unilag does interview. We will not go back to interview. Thank you very much. When I leave, whoever is coming can go back to interview. There's no problem. But only Unilag does interview. I need to put these facts right because they are in the book. They are in the book of the valedictorian. 2, I want to also say one thing. Just listen. Professors in University of Port Harcourt are holding their sway worldwide. I have evidence, posted records of achievements of professors of University of Port Harcourt. See, I have to put this on record because these things are in the lectures. I have to put it on record. Then let me also tell you, promotion to director and deputy directors, we still conduct interviews. And today, I still have those who failed interviews and never became DRO or directors. So we have not removed anything. We still conduct interviews of those categories of people. We must speak truth to power. In 2024, the University of Port Harcourt was among the 10 most sought after universities by JAMB. And I have a certificate of that. And that is the first time ever Uniport became out of 10 out of 250 universities in JAMB. I have the certificate. In 2025, Uniport was 11th, and we had 39,210 candidates. How can that be used as a reason to say Uniport did not make 10 in 2025? When we were 10 in 2024 with 45,120 candidates. We must put the record straight. That's what I'm doing here. Because it's in the book. If I leave it, people will carry the book and think it is that way. It's not. I have to say it as it is. I'm the Vice Chancellor. If I don't say it, nobody will say it. Yes, we must put the record straight. I know my teacher. I know my teacher, but I have to put the record straight. Finally, let me also tell us. Times Higher Education. Times Higher Education ranking. Uniport has never been 20 in Time Higher Education ranking. See how rankings are done in Times Higher Education. They bracket universities. For example, 1,000 to 110, there are 6 universities. Those universities are co-equal. University of Port Harcourt in 2025 was in the 4th bracket with 6 other universities. Therefore, cannot be said to be 20th. Thank you very much. Then finally, I need to conclude this thing so that we can. Distinguished audience, discipline of staff, of students must follow due process. Today, this university spends millions and millions of naira to pay staff who were sacked and have won court cases and have returned. We even paid them the period they were in court. Millions. Somebody is even 20. The other one 25 million. All of them, they were sacked. They are back. We are paying them even the period they were away. Plus the one they have not even worked. Discipline must follow due process. Discipline cannot be done for discipline's sake. This administration will continue to talk about discipline that follows due process. We will not sack people because we want to sack people. Thank you. Having said that, Use some wicked convocation arena. Lale planted. I want that. Thank you very much. Having said that, ladies and gentlemen, while we have noted the decadence of the past in the Nigerian university system, I am pleased to inform all of us that the University of Port Harcourt has taken steps to engage stakeholders with active MOUs with industry partners in place to equip our students with the competencies required of industry-ready graduates. Also, this current administration is changing the narrative. With robust global visibility, quality service delivery, and purposeful engagements with NUC and Federal Ministry of Education and other critical stakeholders, because we understand that the leadership of today is the launching pad for tomorrow. Ladies and gentlemen, the valedictorian cannot lay his life for us. Jesus has laid his life for all of us. Thank you very much. On behalf of the University of Port Harcourt, I extend our heartfelt appreciation to our distinguished 8th Vice Chancellor for years of devoted service and enduring contributions to the growth and reputation of this great institution. Sir, your imprint on this university will remain indelible, and your counsel will continue to guide us even as you step away from active service. We are indeed very grateful to you. I also wish to express sincere thanks to all of you gathered here. Former Vice Chancellors, Vice Chancellors of sister universities, captains of industries, member of council, past and present, senate, staff, and students, alumni, stakeholders. We cherish you for your presence. You know that your presence here added great meaning and dignity to this occasion. In closing, I crave your indulgence to please rise to your feet in honor of this 43rd valedictorian. Valedictorian, please sit. Only us will rise for you. As I say the following to the valedictorian, our dear valedictorian and 8th Vice Chancellor, your incredible leadership helped in shaping this great citadel of learning. And together with this audience, we stand to honor and say thank you for every sleepless night you have to go through for this university. Thank you. Thank you, sir. For every initiative and joint venture you brought in via your personal relationship with industry, partners, and stakeholders, we say thank you. For the gray hairs on your head caused by brainstorming in the best interest of this university, we say thank you. For the boldness to take decisions at various meetings for the good of the University of Port Harcourt, we say, for the risk you took and every inconvenience you had to undertake by air, land, and even waterways, on behalf of the University of Port Harcourt, we say, for your service, your wisdom, and tireless dedication to the University of Port Harcourt and to the advancement of knowledge globally, we say, thank you for spending so long a time with us. Thank you for making so much contributions in the Faculty of Agriculture and even the Faculty of Science, and your impact in several other official assignments here in the University of Port Harcourt. Thank you for such great legacy you have made. We are indeed very fortunate to have you. But, you know, as Ecclesiastes say, chapter 3, verse 1 and 2, there's a truism. To everything, there's a season. A time to start work and a time to retire from work. Although it is difficult for us to say goodbye, to let go, but we say, sir, goodbye. We immensely congratulate you for such meritorious service to this university and for retiring at the appropriate time you need to retire. On behalf of the Governing Council, Senate management staff, students, and stakeholders, we wish you the best in retirement, in good health, longevity, and all that your heart desires. Can we give a round of applause to the valedictorian?
Thank you very much, please. You can have your seat. Thank you. Thank you. Please, can we give a resounding applause to the valedictorian? Thank you very much, sir, for giving us this very wonderful lecture titled University of Port Harcourt, then, now, and in the future. Thank you, 43rd valedictory lecturer of the University of Port Harcourt. Thank you. We'd like to thank everyone for finding time to be here today to be a part of this wonderful valedictory lecture today. Now listen to this. The university has packaged a very special cocktail in honor of our former Vice Chancellor and 43rd valedictorian. So immediately after now, we are inviting his immediate family and very selected few friends who are here, and of course with the professors that are here, and of course with the principal officers of the university to the usual venue where this cocktail will take place. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you also, Chairman of Element Local Government Council. Thank you for being here today. Thank you. We deeply appreciate. May we rise on our feet as we take the university anthem. The next is the national anthem. It's on the screen as we sing together. National anthem. Thank you very much. Please, while we remain standing, the Vice Chancellor, followed by the other principal officers of the university, will lead the recession, while the valedictorian will also follow, and the acting dean of the faculty. Please, let us remain where we are. We are going straight to the entrance of the complex for our special group photograph. Please, can we hold on? Let's give honor to whom honor is due.